So I made that video about AGEs and the problems with cross-linking and the problems with, burnt meat, essentially, and dry heat. Another primary cause of AGEs, and in fact the primary cause of AGEs in the human organism, is actually the ingestion of a high fructose diet. Now, there was a study done that showed that vegetarians actually had higher amounts of fructose-induced cross-linking and higher amounts of cross-linking than non-vegetarians. And people will go, well, that just proves that a vegetarian diet is bad for you. No, vegetarians also live longer. And then people will go, well, then the cross-linking theory of aging must be not true. No, because aging does not necessarily mean a shortened lifespan. I've always found it extremely arrogant because I've been looking into rejuvenation and anti-aging since I was about 10 years old. I've been looking into these things seriously. And of course it started with like Taoism and Qigong and the inner elixir cultivation and things like that, which are a little bit hokey. But the breathing techniques and stuff are worthwhile for the cardiovascular system and things like that. I probably don't do them as much as I should, though. However, what one needs to understand is just because one theory of aging states something or the other does not mean it's the only theory of aging that's actually true. What's interesting about the various theories of aging, they're all true. There's not one of them that there is not consistent supporting evidence to prove. And that was my why I'm doing the playlist that I haven't done enough of those. I have to do a mitochondrial theory of aging still. But that's why you need to take into consideration all of the theories of aging, and any actionable, successful anti-aging plan takes into consideration all of these things and goes about ameliorating them systematically. Now, cross-linking to me is a big concern, okay? But why doesn't a vegetarian diet mean... A vegetarian diet is not necessarily bad. Vegetarians make a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes recently when I tried out that starch solution diet because I was eating starches and fructose in the form of fruit. And what happens is a lot of vegetarians and a lot of vegans, they follow these gurus. Like Dr. McDougall and Dr. Greger. And I'm going to explain why Dr. Greger comes in. Dr. Greger I do respect, but I think that he is guilty, very guilty, of omitting. He lies by omission. He is not telling you the whole picture. It is true that a higher intake of fruits increases lifespan, but people that eat more fruits tend to also eat more vegetables. And I'm going to get into this. One of the problems with fruit, and the only real problem with fruit, is the fructose. And not all fruits are created equal. On the Mind diet, it is recommended that if you're going to have fruit, you're going to have berries. And why berries? Because berries have enough of the antioxidants and phytonutrients to ameliorate the problems caused by the fructose. And they're lower in sugar, or fructose, which is the principal sugar in fruits, but yes, they're lower in sugar. Now, people like me, like I eat citrus peels, the powdered citrus peel. That has 0 sugar, 0 calories. And that's very important because you are getting the phytonutrient benefits without the fructose. So what would make a vegetarian or vegan diet unhealthy? There's a lot of things, but what would make it lead to additional cross-linking is the high amounts of fruit. When you have people like Dr. Greger erroneously stating that a high intake of fruit is not bad for you, it's a lie, okay? It's a lie. I knew this. It's not that fruit is bad for you, and this is what people don't understand. Fruit is not bad for you. I'm not saying don't eat fruit. I would say mimic what the Mind diet says, and if you're going to have fruit that is highest in phytonutrients or phytochemicals that will help ameliorate the problems from the fructose. But the fact is, the higher the fructose, when your body acts on fructose goes to the liver and can cause hepatic shock. It can literally destroy your liver. Okay, so a extremely high fruit diet can be quite bad for the liver. In fact, the reason I stopped the starch solution was because my triglycerides went way through the roof. My cholesterol didn't, my total cholesterol didn't, although my HDL was too low. HDL is high density lipoprotein. That's what it's called the good cholesterol. But on the starch solution, I got a lipid panel done. I'll read that on here. But what people cannot grasp is the fact that, this diet, this super low fat diet, it's not the best. My lipids, not only were my lipids sky high, but my total cholesterol was low, but my HDL was low. And you don't want low HDL. You want high HDL, okay? And it's important that you understand that. But also, you are prematurely aging yourself. You're cooking yourself from the inside out if you're eating a extremely high fructose diet. And like I said, it's not that you can't have fruit, okay? You can have an apple. My problem was on the starch solution to get adequate calories. I was on 1,800 to around 2,000 calories on that diet, and I still gained oodles of fat. The problem with it is that I was consuming fructose. I would have a snack that was maybe 2 or 3 apples to make sure my calories were adequate, okay? Because you can't have fats. You can't have fats, and I can get into fats and what kind of fats are the best, but I'm not going to do that in this video. But the thing is, this high amount of fructose is not healthy to be consuming. 2 or 3 apples is too much fructose in one meal. It's too much sugar, plain and simple. But your body can handle other sugars better than fructose. Now, I use all artificial sweeteners. The reason I use artificial sweeteners is they're the safest thing to use. I don't use stevia. And the reason I don't use stevia, everybody's like, stevia. Stevia negatively impacts the testes. And that's another thing. Dr. Greger's all high. He's all hot and bothered by stevia like it's some kind of superfood. It's not a superfood. It is an endocrine poison. So you have to be careful with consuming stevia. It's far better to consume something like aspartame or saccharin or something that actually is not a quote non-nutritive sweetener, meaning a sweetener that doesn't have nutritive value. It's too low in nutrients to be considered a food. So something like aspartame, saccharin, Splenda I've always been a little iffy. I don't like the idea of chlorinated sugar or whatever the heck it is, but I still use Splenda, especially if I bake anything. I haven't baked anything in years though. I used to cook a lot, especially when I was with my ex. I would cook quite a bit. Simply because that's what I did. But I would recommend people take into consideration, if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, reduce the fruit, increase the vegetables, increase the protein. And you will find that you feel much better usually. Now, I do want to explain, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physician, I'm not a chiropractor, not a nutritionist, not a scientist, I'm none of these things. Don't take what I'm saying as medical advice. It's not medical advice. Don't take medical advice from people on YouTube. Take medical advice from licensed healthcare practitioners that you're physically talking to, okay? That you're actually talking to, not me. I'm not a healthcare practitioner. I'm not a nurse. I'm not a chiropractor, not a physician, not a nutritionist, not an ND, not an MD. I'm not none of that. Or I'm not any of that, so that I have proper English. That way I'm really not liable. But my point is don't take health advice from me. I'm not anybody to take health advice from. However, what one needs to understand, and I covered this in a previous video, and I will cover it again, about how people do not understand what a frugivore diet, or not a frugivore, a fruitarian diet is. A lot of people got misled by Dorian Ryder and Freely the Banana Girl, and this is the worst possible diet that a person can be on, is a fruit diet. And people go, that's not true. Some people do well on a fruit diet. People that do well on a fruit diet are eating a balanced fruitarian diet. A fruitarian diet is not a frugivore diet. It's not the same thing. And I will be making another video about what a frugivore diet is versus, I'm not a frugivore, what a fruitarian diet is versus what a frugivore diet is. A fruitarian diet is a human diet that consists of legumes, high-fat fruits like olives and avocados. It consists of a lot of foods that are being left out of these people that go on these fruit diets. These are not fruitarian diets. These are not the original concept of fruitarianism. I'm not a fruitarian. I don't recommend fruitarianism. It's too difficult to balance things. But the primary problems with vegans, vegetarians, fruitarians, one of the big problems is they're raw foodists. It's almost impossible to find a fruitarian that's not a raw foodist. It's also almost impossible to find a fruitarian that's not that doesn't eat oodles of high sugar fruits and doesn't eat nuts and seeds and legumes and all these things that are technically in a fruitarian diet. Okay, so these in a balanced fruitarian, you can balance a fruitarian diet. It's remarkable. This is why I encourage people to actually just buy a textbook on nutrition, like you would go to college and buy a textbook on nutrition. It's remarkable the diets that one can find that they can balance. You can be a vegan, you can be a vegetarian, you can be an omnivore, you can be a fruitarian, you can be all sorts of things, as long as you understand what's actually in the freaking food you're eating. Okay. Another problem is a lack of supplementation amongst people in the vegetarian community, I'll say. And under vegetarian, I'm including all vegetarian groups like vegan, fruitarian, etc. But one of the hugest problems is a lack of supplementation. They just don't think that you need to supplement. And I agree with Dr. Robert C. Atkins. I believe everybody should supplement. There's nobody that shouldn't supplement. And in fact, like when people are like, oh, well, vegetarians and vegans run a risk of low B12. A lot of people run a risk of low B12. A lot of people have low B12, and the risk gets higher as you get older. So the point is the easiest way to stop that is to take a B complex vitamin or a B12 vitamin. I take both. But the thing is, the best way to ameliorate that problem is to supplement, not to try some like magical potion or it's supplements. We have supplements now. You can go to the drugstore and get them for a couple bucks. You can go to Walmart and get them for even less. It's not difficult to find supplements that you need in your body to make your diet more functional. And as Bruce Ames has stated, the triage theory of aging is an important theory of aging, and it is validated with scientific research. And that's all for this video. I'll get into that fruitarian diet thing in a wee bit.